Here are 10 signs that your sales pipeline is overinflated and probably costing you millions. Why in the world would we talk about this? Because I can tell you there's a challenge and a problem in the world today when it comes to B2B sales pipelines analysis. And the sales pipeline analysis problem can be stated pretty simply. I challenge you, pause the video right now and go look in your CRM. Go look at your sales pipeline, because I'm gonna tell you that more than 85% of the pipelines that we look at are massively overinflated. So as an example, they might have $20 million of pipeline value, with only about 4 million of it actually being real. Now think about the implication this has on a CEO, a business owner, a chief of sales officer. We can't forecast, we can't budget. Makes it harder to invest in our team. So let's break it down right now, and I'm gonna walk you through the 10 signs of your sales pipeline being overinflated. So here we go. Number 1, you have a high number of stalled deals. Deals that say they're gonna close, or that your team says are gonna close, but they never quite seem to get to the finish line on time. So you have this frequent exercise of pushing deals further and further out. I can tell that this is happening in one real easy check. Go look at your pipeline. How many dates do you have, expected close dates, that are in the past? That might be an indicator that you have a high number of stalled deals. Number 2, you have an incredibly low conversion rate. I can tell you that when we work with B2B teams and we start looking at the forecasts and the pipelines, you typically see these pipelines that are millions of dollars too high for what's actually going to close. And if you were to really take that and do, say, the conversion math, which is what percentage of the dollars in our pipeline do we close? Well, the number should be somewhere probably between 30 and 40%. But if you've got a $50 million pipeline and you're only going to close 3 million of it, that's an indicator that right now your pipeline is overinflated. The conversion rate's a very simple trick, because if you don't have faith and confidence that you can actually forecast, you'll know that your conversion rates are too low and your pipeline's probably too fat. Number 3, the bane of every sales leader or CEO's existence: sales forecasting. You have inaccurate forecasting. Now, the best teams in the world can tell me today, within a 10% margin of error, what's gonna close over at least the next 90 days. Most companies can't tell me what's gonna close over the next 30. And that inaccurate forecasting creates all sorts of problems for the organization. And as a seller, think about the problems it creates for you. If you're a salesperson watching this, if you're not able to accurately forecast when your deals are gonna close, think about what that's gonna do to you if you're trying to negotiate a deal, because you won't have a lot of internal credibility to get that done. So inaccurate forecasting is another sign. Number 4, there's a lack of clear steps. So one of my favorite CEOs of all time, a lady named Stacey Henry for a company called Big Nerd Ranch, got absolutely myopic and focused on number 4. She said it's not acceptable to have something in the pipeline that is an opportunity that we're working on and not have a clear next step. It was to the point where if she looked in the CRM and there was no next step, then that rep wouldn't get paid for the deal, or that rep would have to push it backwards in the pipeline. And we have a general rule that, you know what? If you're not actually putting a next step with it and you don't have alignment with the prospect on what that next step is, and that happens for 30 days or more, then we move it backwards in the opportunity pipeline, because we want to be able to forecast more accurately where we sit with this deal. And as they say, time kills all deals. Number 5, you have an over-reliance on large deals. Either you or your reps are talking about the big one, talking about the whale or the elephant, talking about the one that's 4 or 5 times the average size of one of your deals. And an over-reliance on those is a challenge, because your entire pipeline's performance is dependent upon whether or not you close the whale. And I can tell you, if most of your deals are 4 to 5 times smaller, well, that creates a challenge, because the bigger deals require a different level of rigor and they require a different level of commitment to the process. So if you're over-relying on just a few big deals every month or every quarter, I'd be cautious about the accuracy of your pipeline. Number 6, low engagement from prospects. Do your prospects, postpone meetings or cancel them frequently? Are reps continuing to talk to you about, Johnny couldn't make it to today, so he needed to reschedule for 2 weeks out? Because if this is a consistent thing, then we really are struggling with our pipeline, because low engagement from prospects is going to lead to a number of the other things we've spoken about. It's going to lead to stalled deals because they don't think it's important. It's not a priority. They don't have any urgency. But if meetings and follow-ups are often canceled or postponed, know that that's something that's absolutely going to affect your ability to accurately forecast what your sales pipeline looks like. Number 7, deals at early stages in the pipeline are often overvalued. Opportunities early on in the stage, and this particularly happens when your reps are allowed to assign a confidence level in each step of your pipeline. And there's little to no evidence actually supporting that this deal they've had exactly one meeting with has an 80% chance to close. You can't overvalue them in the beginning because, quite frankly, this is a statistics thing. We know as an example that 50 to 60% of first calls or first meetings are going to end up in a sales opportunity. And we know that really good teams convert 35-ish% of sales opportunities into wins. So if they're in a discovery call saying it's an 80% chance to close, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know a lot about calculus, but when it comes to math on doing deals, I know a lot about that. Number 8, lack of qualification. And this is an epidemic today. We're not properly qualifying them. We don't understand. Do they have the urgency? Is it a priority? Does it match up to a bigger business need or motivation? How does this help the actual individual who's, say, the ambassador on this deal? We don't know those things. We don't qualify. Is there actually budget set, or did they just kind of think of the budget? So a lack of qualification is absolutely going to make you struggle with a pipeline that's way too large for the number of deals that it's actually going to bring home. Number 9, excessive discounts and concessions. So a great sales trainer in the world named John Barrows has a give-get philosophy when it comes to negotiations and sales. He believes and he teaches that if you're going to give something, you should get something in return. If you're going to give pricing, you should get something in return from the prospect. We believe that the prospect should get more engaged throughout the process and required to carry a heavier part of the workload through the sales process. But if you're having to discount consistently, you're trying to get to the end of the quarter, hey, Mr. Prospect, it's the end of the month or the end of the quarter, and my boss is gonna let me make this cheaper. You've trained your prospects to wait for that moment. But if you have to do excessive discounts and commissions, here's what it really indicates: that you have a value development problem, and the prospect is placing a value on it versus the price versus what the outcome is you can deliver. So watch out for the excessive discounts. 10, inconsistent sales activity. Seems obvious, I guess, to some extent, but here's the problem with inconsistent sales activity. The problem is this: we hold on to deals. They're holding on to all these deals, leaving them in the pipeline because they don't have anything to replace it. And if there's anything that can help cure this problem, a fat pipeline cures all deals, but a fat, well-qualified, legit pipeline can cure all problems. So watch out, because an inconsistent sales activity where we're not consistently bringing new opportunities into play with new customers, new clients, existing clientele, that certainly is going to cause a problem, because people are going to hold on to it because they're afraid of being judged on the actual lack of activity. So there are 10 signs that your sales pipeline is overinflated and could be costing you millions. Hey, hit subscribe. Stay with me for more great sales and sales management tips. We'll see you soon.